Hello everyone, welcome back to this week, the second installment of the Tampa Native Show. I'm Mario Nunez, alongside my co-host, third generation Tampa Native, 1978 grad from Hillsborough High School, an all-around good guy, Steve Cannella. Steve, say hello to everybody.
Hello everybody, thanks so much for tuning in again to our second Tampa Native Show, and this is very exciting. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about, mainly our childhood growing up, which you'll see shortly on the background here. But we'd like to make a real special announcement before we get started, though. Yesterday at the Columbia restaurant, I'd like to mention that Mario Nunez and Sally Nunez celebrated their 30th anniversary, wedding anniversary. Is that incredible?
Man, I was not expecting that today. You caught me completely off guard, but I will say thank you very much. And you know, you were sorely missed yesterday, by the way. Steve was supposed to have joined us for that very special occasion, but he was called away, duty called. And Steve had a stand-in yesterday, a gentleman by the name of Bill Cummings. And thanks, Bill, for showing up. Mike White was there as well. But listen, we've got a great show planned for you this evening. We'll take the first few minutes to talk to you a little bit about how we got started for those of you that are just joining us, and this is your first Tampa Native Show. Well, it's your first Tampa Native Show, but it's only our second one. Last week, we had an incredible outpouring of support. We had nonstop calls once we opened up the lines at about 15 after the hour, and it was wonderful. We were very inspired. This week, we've got an equally, I think, as exciting show. We need to take care of a little business before we get started and tell you who we are and how we got here. Let me tell you real quick that this past Monday, there were several Tampa natives that showed up, gave up their Labor Day, Monday, to answer the phones for Jerry's kids. Steve and I put out an all-call, and many people showed up to answer that call, and I want to go ahead and make sure that we give those people their due right now.
Absolutely. To
the MDA volunteers who showed up on Monday, let us say thank you. To Sally Nunez, to Elaine Chiacho, to Robin Gravis, Laura Roque, Michael and Kathy White, Brenda Ippolito, Brenda Patisi, Chris Martell, Alice Hyman, and Susan Edgerly. Thank you so much for giving up your Monday, your Labor Day holiday, to spend it with us. Also, we need to say thank you to those Tampa natives that send in their funding, their contributions. Suzanne Trask, Joselle Pulgarin, Diane King, Michael and Tara Ortiz, Karen Novak, Michael and Kathy White, and again, Alice Hyman. Thanks for opening up your wallets and making a contribution. Tampa natives were present. Also, one other special thank you to the ABC Action News team, the morning team, and the evening team. I'm going to name them all because they were all there and they were all nice to us. Very nice. Dan Schaefer, Dia Riley, Stephanie Roberts, Lisette Campos. And the evening team, Brendan McLaughlin, Linda Hurtado, Dennis Phillips, and Jameson Euler. And especially a big thank you to Floor Director Felicia Burton, not only for making the Tampa natives volunteers feel a welcome group in the studio, but they actually made us feel like we were making a big difference as part of the production. And you know, they won our hearts over. We'll be back next year for that. We say thank you so much. Steve, take a minute, tell everybody how we got here, how Tampa natives got to be, and just where we've been.
Absolutely, Mario. Well, about a year and a half ago, I was on a large social networking site where it was more of an experiment, where being a third-generation Tampa native, and Mario's experienced this too, I'm sure all you Tampa natives have, whenever you mention that you're a third, second, fourth, whatever generation, the last thing, or the most common thing that you hear is, wow, that's pretty rare. Not too many of you guys around. And so it started kind of more of an experiment as to determine, are there really a lot of us around, and how many? So on our TampaNatives.com page, we have over 5,400 and I think 10 members now. So there's a lot of us around still.
That there is. And that was about a year and a half ago now. Steve started the page. I met up with Steve shortly thereafter. We joined forces. We've been rolling down that highway, that proverbial highway, and gaining momentum. We've had several different functions that have been attended widely by a lot of our members. And most recently, the MDA telethon experience that we had just this past Monday. So last week, we had our first world premiere, debut television show. You know, I came to Steve and I told him, I said, Steve, you know, we've experienced all of this outpouring of enthusiasm for those people that are still here, second and third and even fourth generation Tampa natives. You know, and we're all getting to that age now where if we don't do what we can to preserve those precious stories that we were told by our grandparents, and in some cases, those of us fortunate enough, our great-grandparents, you know, the stories are going to start going away. So Steve and I, you know, we discussed it. We said, hey man, can you do a live TV show? Can we do a live TV show? Can we fund a live TV show? How are we going to do this? So I had previous experience here at TBCN, Tampa Bay Community Network. We made application. We received the funding, the generous funding necessary to come to you this evening in your television, on your televisions and in your laptops and on your computers. And here we go. Last week's show, again, we set a record. A record. How many calls did we get last week, Steve?
We had 16 calls, and we had, I think, one person on hold for 45 minutes trying to get in.
We had 16 calls. We had 3 emails. So it had to be a record because it was our first show.
Exactly.
But this week, we're going to stop talking somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes after the hour, after we bring you up to speed on how we got here and who we are. And then we're just going to go crazy nuts on the phone again. And this evening, we think this evening's topic is going to be just as hot as last week. So
definitely.
We've had these functions, Steve. We decided we were going to come on the air, and that would be the best way to get in touch and reach out into the community and involve everybody. How are we going to do that? Well, we decided a live call-in format would be the best way, because we realized, okay, it's not just about Mario and Steve and our story, although our stories are pretty compelling. Steve's great-grandparents came from San Stefano, Sicily, through Ellis Island, and mine came from La Habana, Cuba, you know, up on the Olivet to Tampa. Of course, what brought us all here was opportunity, the cigar industry, and all that involves. But it's also about you and you out there, and all of our friends that we saw Monday at the telethon, and so many more. So in just a few minutes, we're going to solicit for your calls. You know, we'll put the number up there. But let's talk about this week's topic, Steve. And well, share with them what we're going to talk about this week, and then I'll give them the particulars.
Absolutely. What we're going to talk about this week is basically our childhood, growing up in Tampa, preserving the memories of our childhood. And the acronym is CTRD, which means City of Tampa Recreation Departments. And how many of us spent countless hours and days, you know, just playing at these playgrounds that were city or county, you know, run? But we can pretty much base our childhood on these organizations. We met connections there, friends, and also back then we didn't have internet, we didn't have video games. You know, we pretty much stayed outdoors all day long.
Yeah, we did.
And it was just a phenomenal thing. So really excited that we're going to be talking about that today. It'll bring back a lot of memories for sure.
I know when I was a kid, anytime I would see a big Voight Foursquare ball or a softball with the letters emblazoned CTRD, it meant something pretty special. City of Tampa Recreation Department. Well, back then we didn't have K through 6 like we have now. Back then, a lot of us, if you didn't go to a private preschool or a parochial preschool, you went to these one-room schoolhouses that were funded and staffed by the City of Tampa Recreation Department. And that's where you learned your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. You learned how to go to the bathroom and wash your hands. You learned how to stand in line. And you know, it was just great form and structure. And of course, you know, you're 5 years old. And I can remember mine like it was yesterday. And we're going to talk about that in depth in just a few minutes. I have to say that today I had the opportunity to speak with Miss Tina Webster. Tina, and you're out there watching, and I know you are because you told me you were going to be watching today. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. And she reminded me, she's an employee of the City of Tampa Recreation Department right now. She reminded me that the very first neighborhood playground was the result of a Tampa resident by the name of Kate Jackson's efforts. Kate Jackson, whose father, John Jackson, a very prominent family back in the 1860s, 1870s. She, in 1910, if you can imagine, in 1910, she petitioned the city and won the argument and secured the funding to build the first playground here in the city of Tampa. 1910, that's 100 years ago. And where would you think, Stevie, where would you think, logically, that playground would have been built?
I'd say close to downtown as possible.
You're right, in Hyde Park.
Yeah. Okay.
Where the center of you know, activity was, you know, as far as community back in 1910. The lady died, Miss Jackson, in 1940, and in 1975, that Hyde Park playground was renamed in her honor. Kate Jackson. So we owe her a debt of gratitude. You know, not many people knew that, and I didn't today until I spoke with Tina Webster.
I didn't either.
Well, then I started to go through and kind of catalog just, you know, real quickly in my own mind and try to write down as many city playgrounds as I could remember. And I came up with a few, Steve. I came up with Corona and Friendship and Davis Island and Hyde Park and North Hubert and Lincoln Gardens and West Pines and West Tampa Heights and Ray Park and Oak Park and Cascaden Park. You guys getting a feel for this now?
Oh, yeah.
There was Clearfield and Riverside, Henry and Ola, Wellswood, Skyway, DeSoto, Giddens, and Durant. Just to name a few, just the ones that I could remember.
You know, Mario, that shows how important these parks were to the childhood memories.
Well, I mean, they were central. They were central because
they were.
basically we started our education process there, our formal education process there when we were but 5 years old, before we went to first grade.
Right.
And then I can remember distinctly my own personal experience from about 5 to 15. That was not only our preschool before first grade, but it was also our after-school daycare. You know, a lot of our parents worked at the time, so you know, it was a safe place for us to stay. They were fully staffed by the City of Tampa Recreation Department. They had park directors. We learned to swim there. We learned bike safety there. We learned how to play with the other kids there. And who can't forget the cornucopia of toys and park equipment that used to drive us all nuts?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, myself. Steve, look at the list I comprised here. There was tetherball. There was box hockey. Of course, the swings. There was foursquare. The giant slides. There was flag football. You learned to swim there. Bike safety. That merry-go-round thing that, that was made out of heavy metal. I don't know what that thing was called.
That's amazing.
We used to call it the Wheel of Death because, unfortunately, there was always one kid that got spun off of that thing at 100 miles an hour and got trapped underneath it. You played dodgeball.
Tetherball?
There was tetherball. There was teeter-totter. Well, anyway, you're getting the picture. And what we're going to ask for you guys to do out there in TV land is to give us a call in a couple of minutes and just give us your fondest recollection. It could be something that was hilarious. It could be something that was semi-tragic, the day that one kid, you know, fell off the monkey bars and broke his arm. Just something that, to this day, you have a vivid, vivid memory of. And, of course, we shouldn't forget the fact that back then, if you were a young man and you wanted to become a coach, say, in an elementary school or a junior high, a lot of times, if you were at the University of Tampa, University of South Florida, you had to do sort of an internship at one of these City of Tampa Recreation Department parks. And I remember distinctly there were guys by the name of Pop Cuesta and Tom Cavalieri and David Kent and Frank and Glenn Permui, who were two brothers, and a gentleman that I knew well who grew up in my neighborhood, Dan Permui. We knew him as Deacon Dan Permui. But these guys, you know, with their coaches' shorts and their whistles, and they'd go out there and they'd roll out the void balls and make sure that nobody got in trouble and everybody stayed in the fence. It was a really great time for us here in Tampa. And I can remember up until I got my first car, I spent a lot of time at the parks.
We all did.
Stevie, I'm telling you, I'm ready to go if you are.
I'm ready too. I'm excited about the calls we're going to get.
Remind them about what you got in front of you right there?
Not only that, but definitely we're going to take calls now, live calls, so please share your stories with us. The number is 254-7820. If for some reason you would prefer email show@tampanatives.com, or if there's a little bit of a hold, feel free to email us as well. We'll go ahead and mention your email on the air. So we're ready. I think I see some lights coming on already.
Lights
Mario?
are already lighting up.
Wow,
I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I did too.
I knew this was going to happen. We're going to go to our callers here immediately. Well, we lost that caller on 4. Jeff, get him back right quick. Get him back on line 4 because I know there was a good story ahead of tell.
Let's do read down.
Here we go. Caller, you're on the air. Make sure you turn down your TVs and talk to us on the telephone. Who's on the air, please?
Hi, Mario.
Oh, I got you on caller ID. Well, hello, Miss Miller. How are you? Why don't you tell our audience where you're calling from and tell us a little bit about your favorite playground and what you remember fondly. This caller's from Tampa, by the way, Jeff, if you want to put Miss Miller from Tampa.
I just wish you and Sally a happy belated anniversary since I forgot to do that yesterday.
Well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the personal shout out there.
I'm calling from Temple Terrace.
Temple Terrace is in the house.
Okay.
Of course, I grew up on the outskirts of Tampa, but have probably visited every park you mentioned, being that playing softball, my whole life. But my mother was the assistant director of Temple Terrace Recreation Center, so that's where I spent the majority of my childhood.
Wow.
And tell us your fondest remembrances. And of course, we remember your mom very, very well.
I think probably the most was, playing softball at the different parks. And, I guess you may have known this, Mario, that my mom was the one that started girls softball in Tampa back in 1969. So we went from park to park playing at all the different parks. And I remember the first time we ever played was at Egypt Lake Park.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And the park director there had to run around and get enough girls together to have a team so that we could play them, and that's how Leaguerettes first started in Tampa back in the 60s.
Interesting story.
That's great stuff, Shonnery. That is great stuff. And then later on, of course, you and I have known each other since we were real young teenagers. And later on, we spent a few summers. You were chasing your father's softball team around, and ultimately I got to play in the men's fast pitch softball team right there at the corner of Florida and Sly. We had some fun times there, did we not?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was Elite and Ball Field, and many of the others in Tampa, and of course on the outside at the different tournaments. So
I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to dedicate a show here in the first season of the Tampa Native Show, maybe to men's fast pitch softball, and hopefully we'll get somebody in studio to come in here with us and tell us their stories. And there's a lot of guys out there that are watching, and we've talked to them on that network site that we shall remain nameless here because we're not supposed to say it.
That's right.
That have talked about men's fast pitch softball, that have played back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. So
Clearwater Bombers?
Clearwater
Clearwater
Bombers, legendary, back in the day.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Back in the day, absolutely. Well, Sean Reed, thank you so much for calling, and listen, we hope that you will call again.
absolutely, and best of luck to you and Steve. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so
Can you
much
see
for
it?
calling.
How do we look at home? We look okay?
You look great.
Great.
The graphic looks good behind us?
Looks very nice.
We're about to
Awesome.
change that now, so stay tuned because there's a lot more coming. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
the call.
calling, Sean Reed. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mark, that was a great call.
Yeah, that was fabulous.
That was interesting.
That was very good. She mentioned Egypt Lake.
Egypt Lake.
And then what was the other one she mentioned that it escaped me? Do you recall?
Was
Temple
it,
Terrace.
Temple Terrace.
Temple
right.
Terrace.
Right. She's from Temple Terrace, and the park you grew up in. What was the name of your park?
Well, that's a great question and an excellent segue because I think it's time that we change our graphic now so that we bring up the graphic that we've been
Right.
hiding in, back in the, there it is.
There it is.
There
Oh,
it
that's
is.
perfect.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see behind us now in this virtual studio, because I feel like Dennis Phillips because actually I'm working here in front of a green screen and there's really nothing behind us but a green screen. That image is done by the magic of computer and television. This is the graduating class of North Hubert Playground, 1963-64. What do you think about that? Look at that picture. I know we're sitting in front of a bunch of the kids there,
Takes us
so
back.
some of them are blocked out. But honest to goodness, I have a roster here on this table next to me of each and every one of those kids. And I didn't realize this until just reading this. But somewhere in that grouping of kids is Joe Magadan. And I later played baseball with Joe Magadan at West Tampa Senior League, which was pretty cool. I didn't realize Joe was in that picture, but he is. I see David Taylor from where I'm sitting. I see Naila Perez and myself. And sitting next to me in the front row there is Monica Zimmer. My cousin Lisa Rhodey is up there as well. But this was a class of 34, 35 students. And, back then, this is what we did for our kindergarten. This is where we went.
That's a great photo.
Where
too,
did you go to
isn't it?
kindergarten, Steve?
I went to St. Lawrence Elementary. It wasn't an actual CTRD, but it was basically, it was just kindergarten through 8th grade.
Do you remember how many kids were in your in your class?
Mara, I don't really remember. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I do remember some things. And one of the things, I guess it wasn't a memorable experience, but my first day of kindergarten, I was leaning against the wall.
Yes.
And there was a fire extinguisher over my head.
Okay.
And it actually fell and hit me on the head.
No.
Yeah. And,
no.
And I think that explains a lot of things now, But,
Steve, no, you didn't get hit on the head the first day of school with a fire extinguisher.
I sure did. Yeah, that was my first introduction to kindergarten.
Oh, that's not a good day.
And I didn't like school after that anymore.
Well, at least you didn't have the classic, I wet my pants the first day of school, because, sometimes the kids will have those too.
Exactly.
It's an overwhelming experience.
Oh, yeah.
If we can get Jeff to take us out of the shot for just a minute, I'd like to go ahead and let everybody at home see this picture. There we go. You can still hear our voices, but that's a good looking picture right there. I know one of those ladies was a lady, Jeff, stay with that picture for just a minute, and they can hear us and enjoy that shot for just a minute. The director's name was a Miss Jane Williams. And then the assistant director was a lady by the name of Patty Dervase, or Dervase, D-E-R-V-A-S-E, it looks like. And then, of course, our swimming teacher was a lady by the name of Miss Bacon. And I think Miss Bacon is the one on the far right there, I'm pretty sure. But, we did things like swim lessons there and bike safety. The Red Cross came in and taught us how to swim. The Tampa Police Department came in and, we brought our little bicycles in on that given day, and they made sure that our bicycle tires were nice and inflated properly. And it was a wonderful experience. We had Easter egg hunts during Easter egg time of the year. We had Christmas pageants. We were there for 3 hours of the day, from 9 to 12. I did the research this morning, and I found the information in my special drawer. And we did have 3 hours. So it wasn't all day. It wasn't even much beyond lunch. But I remember we had lunch there. I remember distinctly we had lunch Why do I remember these things, Steve?
I don't know. It just, those are the fond memories of growing up in Tampa. You know, just.
Well, I can tell you that in that far right-hand corner of that picture is Melissa Pye. And it's amazing to me that I can remember these kids' names because, well.
I think you're in there too, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm somewhere in there. I think I'm that cat in the middle right there that's got his hand, he's holding his hands up and he's wearing those glasses right there dead center in the middle, and Monica Zimmer's got the pigtails. She's next to me on my right.
You know, I think those are the same glasses you're wearing today.
Amazing, amazing. Almost 50 years ago.
Wow,
Stop, Steve. You're making me feel bad,
That's
brother.
a phenomenal picture, though.
But yeah, in the back row, I see David Taylor. I see Rose Stein. I mean, this was North Hubert Playground. Now, there was Friendship and there was Corona. That was in the South Side. I know there was some South Tampa survivors that must have been going to some playgrounds down in Port Tampa, but I never went that far at that time.
Right.
So I don't recall any of the playgrounds that were far south. Maybe somebody can call in and tell us about those.
Yeah, you know, Mario too was, even though I didn't have an actual CTRD that I was assigned to or went to at that age, but later on, I spent a lot of my time at Roy Haynes and also Roman Sly. Roman Sly was considered North Tampa back then.
Right, exactly.
Right now it's probably center of Tampa, but mainly it was Roman Sly, Mustang Field, softball, baseball. Behind that was the PAL, the Police Athletic League.
Oh, the Police Athletic. Of course I remember the Police Athletic.
Green building.
Absolutely. It was, as I recall, the baseball field, the Colt League diamond, Mustang Colt League diamond, and then there was the concession stand behind it. And then it seemed like the football field was actually behind that.
It was.
Wasn't there there were trees, but you had to get through that, and then the football field was behind it.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah, there were some woods behind there. In fact, we used to play in those woods too, with fishing. There was a lake in there we used to go fishing in. But yeah, Pee Wee football, Police Athletic League.
I remember.
And just some wonderful, wonderful times. Oh, interesting story too.
Please.
I was actually playing baseball there at the Mustang Field the year that they changed the name from Mustang Field to Steve Garvey Field. And
that was in the 70s, late 70s, 75 or 6, wasn't it?
Well,
74, 5 or 6?
A little bit before, like maybe 73, 74 in that range.
Okay.
And Steve Garvey, of course, is a Tampa native. Speaking of Tampa natives,
yes.
he went to Chamberlain High School.
Yes, he did.
And anyway, he was supposed to be there that day to talk for the opening ceremony, for the dedication ceremony.
Sure.
And he couldn't make it for, I'm not sure why, but his parents came in his place, but they brought a cassette recording of him talking, giving a speech. So they played the cassette over the loudspeakers. And we all stood in line, all the teams were there.
That's pretty cool.
That was our opening day celebration.
And you know what? Opening days, that'll be for another show. Of course, Little League Baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
That's going to be an incredible show.
Exciting,
But the truth of the matter is, opening days were always something really, really special. And I can see where then, Steve Garvey, at the time he was probably with LA, and he was probably having, the height of his success. He was one of the early ones that kind of came out of Tampa youth baseball.
Right.
Of course, the biggest one being Al Lopez. We're getting off topic now. The biggest one being Al Lopez, but I can see that. I remember PAL football. I had one season back there that I played back there, but before that, before going into full tackle football at PAL, I remember playing football at the playground, which was kind of cool because what you did was you dressed out in full pad. You had pads, the full outfit, the helmet, pads, thigh pads, hip pad, the whole shot, but you also wore flags. So the contact that was allowed back then was the contact in the blocking and going downfield and trying to kick off and blocking, but you couldn't tackle anybody. Tackling was prohibited. Interior, you had action in the line, but if you had open field, you couldn't tackle. You had to pull those flags. But I remember doing that at the playground too. That was yet another thing that we did at the playground. Let's see who's on line 4. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Native Show. Who's with us today?
Hi, my name is Mary Scalzo.
Mary Scalzo. Where are you calling from, Mary? Because it looks like you're calling from out of area.
Yeah, well, I'm in Port Richey.
Port Richey. Okay, thank you, Port Richey.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I grew up in Tampa. I moved to Tampa in '65, and I grew up in the Forest Hills area. So that's why I wanted to bring up. He had mentioned Roy Haynes. I lived right down the street. That was my neck of the woods. I went to Chamberlain and Adams Junior High. I went to college here and everything, and so I can relate a lot with the playgrounds because I spent a lot of time.
We did, didn't we? I mean, it seemed like, I can remember, Mary, from 5 years old all the way till probably just about my sophomore year in high school. I mean, during the summer times, we went there to swim. We were very fortunate that North Huber Playground had a swimming pool. So, you know, they all didn't have swimming pools, but this one did. So we were able to swim during the summer. They had activities for us. And it wasn't until we really got our first car that we really went far away, because we could ride our bike just about anywhere, but we'd always go to the park.
Right.
Now tell me, what was your fondest memory at Roy Haynes? Did you ever fall off the swings, or cut yourself, or have a fight, or fall in love, or get that first kiss behind the tree? What happened to you over there at Roy Haynes?
Well, that's when I guess I just have good memories of the neighborhood. You know, everybody from all different areas, because you know, being in Forest Hills, Old Carrollwood, everybody was kind of around that area, and we would all ride our bikes up there, which it was safe to do. We had Halloween parties up there every year. They always had something going on. I had brownies and Girl Scouts all through. My brother had, you know, the Cub Scouts.
And later Boy Scouts.
Tennis. I mean, it was not expensive. It was a place that a parent could bring their child and leave them, and there was always a neighborhood mother or something there that we could do things together, and they would always have somebody secure to watch the children. And we were just talking about it recently. Both of us were together because I still keep in touch with a lot of my friends and high school friends, and we talked about that just recently, how, you know, wonderful it is that we had a place that we have good memories of playing softball and tennis and, you know, just things like that.
I can hear
Great memories.
I can hear it in your voice, Mary, and that was part of the reason what prompted Steve and I to engage in this kind of an endeavor with a live TV show, because we thought, you know, live TV, anything can happen, but at the same time, in real time, we can get the stories from everybody out there in the community, and that's the essence of our Tampa Natives group now. Have you found us on that social networking site yet? Have you located us on that social networking site?
I'm actually sitting on the computer in front of me because I couldn't pull it up on my TV for
Right. No, you're out of the county, so you're going to get it on your laptop or on your PC. Just make sure you go to that networking. Well, if you go to tampanatives.com, it'll redirect you to that site. And we want you to plug in with us, so that way we can, you know, we can let you know when we have our events. We'd love to meet you in person sometime.
Oh, yeah.
I've got another caller on 5. I want to go take their call, but I'll leave you with this thought. Everything that you described is at its essence what brought Steve and I to create this show and this platform, so we could reminisce about Tampa days gone by. But let me leave you with this thought. Back when we had swim lessons at North Huber Playground, swim lessons, care to guess how much the swim lesson cost?
Probably like $3 or $4, not very much.
Yeah, no, it was a little less than that. It was 10 cents a lesson. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that thought. You can't get anything for 10 cents today. But I have papers here that verify my parents had to pay 10 cents every time I jumped in the pool. I don't know where they got the 10 cents from, but you know. Thanks so much for calling, Mary. I'm going to get this other call. Call back anytime.
Okay, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Caller, you're there on line 5. We're glad you waited. Who's on the line with us?
Brenda Patisi.
Brenda.
Well, hello, Brenda Patisi.
Hey,
you're one of our MDA telethon volunteers. I mentioned your name earlier.
So Brenda,
Tell Brenda to turn down her TV.
Brenda, turn down your TV just a little bit. It may cause a little bit of a background
How's
echo. That sounds
Better. Talk to Steve on the phone
go ahead.
like you're talking to Steve on the phone all the time anyway.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, that's what I'll do.
There you go.
Listen, I called about Cascading Pool. Does anybody remember Cascading Pool?
I know there's a lot of people out there that are watching that when you said Cascading Pool, right there, they go, oh my God, Cascading Pool. I hadn't thought about Cascading Pool in a while. Or they were thinking about Cascading Pool, but they let Brenda bring it up tonight.
Exactly.
Of course, Cascading Pool was a place to be.
That's right. That was Cascading Park, and they had the pool. That's where I learned to swim. Cost you 25 cents. We went every day in the summer and had so much fun.
No, it was an amazing pool also.
I remember the Halloween carnivals.
Halloween carnivals.
That's right.
That's right. I didn't mention that earlier,
That
but
was
every
big.
Halloween, I mean, it was a thing to get dressed in your Halloween costume, go over to West Tampa Carnival, you know, at West Tampa Heights there, buy the churros, do the whole thing. I mean, the Tilt-A-Whirl, the Scrambler. Steve and I were talking about that yesterday. You have those memories too?
Oh, yeah, that was, it was so much fun. I can't imagine kids had as much fun as we did when we were young.
And it felt like Tampa, you know, everybody, we talked about this last week. Either you were somebody's cousin, or you knew somebody's cousin, or you were married to someone, or somebody was, everybody knew everybody. So it wasn't, you know, and there was I mean, you could walk everywhere. I mean, I heard stories of people, you know, walking to school and walking a mile and a half to school. You couldn't do that today on a dare because it's not a safe thing to do. But we grew up, I think, in Tampa when it was a great, great place to grow up. And the memories come flooding back. I mean, you just said, you know, Halloween carnival. Everybody had a Halloween carnival. Christ the King Church had a Halloween carnival. St. Lawrence had one. St. Joseph's had one. Everybody had one.
Everybody had one, but I think the best one was at Cascaden Park. That was the big one.
Well, you might be biased. You might get an argument from those people that went to Christ the King, but I won't argue with you.
She may be starting something.
Okay, that's good. I hope you don't.
Brenda, no, because you're right, though. And, you know, not just everything that happened at Cascaden Park. I mean, and I'll interject this, and then I'll probably have to let you go, Brenda, because we've got somebody else on the other line. But, you know, today what's happening at Cascaden Park, it breaks my heart because the pool's closed. The Ybor City Boys Club is boarded up, and what used to be hallowed ground, what used to be baseball, you know, I don't know, almost religious ground where Al Lopez played and Lou Piniella played and Tony La Russa and everybody and Tony Saladino and everybody that came out of West Tampa and Ybor City is not even a baseball diamond anymore. Now it's a soccer field. Right. And you know, look, Steve, look.
Yeah, you got the goosebumps.
Look, I get the goosebumps because it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right, and at some point, maybe the Tampa natives can get together and do some kind of fundraising or petition the city and say, hey, can we build a baseball field here again?
That would be great.
Brenda.
Awesome call, Brenda.
Okay,
thanks for being there with us, and thanks for coming out this Monday and Labor Day to share time with us. It was fun.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Brenda. Thank you.
Mark, before you take the next call, just a reminder.
Caller, we see you there. Stay on the line.
Yeah, please hang on. Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
That's Brenda, no.
Okay, good.
Stay on the line, caller.
Please call 254-7820. Also, feel free to email at show@tampanatives.com. And did you have to mention churros earlier?
I mentioned churros.
I know. Did you have to, though?
Well, I know, brother. I know.
Okay, all right.
Churros con chocolate meñier. I don't know what that is, but I know my mother used to make it, and it was delicious in the wintertime.
And they had
hot chocolate.
All the carnivals, they had them.
Every carnival.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, it was a thing.
You can have churros.
We lost our caller.
We lost. Okay, caller, please call back.
Call back. Well, yeah, no, the carnivals, and they were everywhere. And then the elementary schools had their carnivals as well. They're back. Thank goodness. Here we go. Caller on line 4. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Native Show. Who's with us tonight?
Hello, Mario. It's Casey.
Hey, Casey. There's my boy Casey Powell. Hi, Case. How are you? Did you say hello to Steve Cannella right there?
I got a chance to. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Casey. Good seeing you. Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you again on TV. Listen, we'll tell everybody where you and I met and how long we've been friends. I've known this fella since I was literally 5, 6 years old.
Well, yeah, first grade.
First grade, certainly first and second grade. We were in the same class. We had the same teacher. She terrorized us for 2 years straight. And we learned to swim together at that North Hubert playground. Casey, tell us what's been going on and tell us your fondest memory of where you grew up.
Well, I spent a lot of time at Friendship Playground. That was not too far from the house, but they didn't have a pool, so we had to go see Miss Bacon at North Hubert, which was, fantastic. We had a blast there. But I tell you, I'm reminded of North Hubert every time I look in the mirror, and I look at this big old scar I have between my eyes.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's one of those
we knew this story was coming. Go ahead, Kay. Share it with everybody.
Sure. My neighbor and best buddy at the time, Joe Gillen, they had this rocket swing at North Hubert, and it had the fins in the back, and I was pushing Joe on the rocket swing, and somehow I got distracted. I don't know what happened. You probably distracted me somehow. I don't know.
I'm sure I did.
And one of the fins caught me right between the eyes and knocked me out, and I had to go get some stitches there. So I still have that nice scar to this day. And every time someone asks me about it, I tell them about the rocket swing at North Hubert Park.
Brings back fond memories. Huh?
Now I'm gonna let our viewers in on a little secret. Casey and I had a conversation earlier today. And I think the funniest part of the story, and that was pretty tragic there, but the story takes a fun twist. Casey, you got to go all the way out with this. Finish the story so everybody knows there was a happy ending to this, was there not?
There was a happy ending. It caused me to have an addiction in a way. As I was sitting there crying, in order to get me to stop crying, I was very fond of snack food back in the day as I am now. And they sat me down while my mom was on the way with a box of Cheez-Its.
Oh, my.
And I remember I had never before in my life experienced the pleasure of Cheez-Its. So the first thing I told Mom when she picked me up from the playground, I showed her, I said, Mom, we have to stop and get a box of these.
Well, you paid the price for it, but I tell you what, you know, Cheez-Its, who doesn't like cheese? You know, it's un-American to not like cheese, Case. Come on.
That's right.
Anything with cheese and bacon, we're going to eat it. I don't care. That's who we are. And we just, it's like churros, though.
You guys are making me hungry.
I mean, come on. I mean, honestly, the first time you experienced a fresh churros with all that sugar on it,
that's so good.
It was like, oh, are you serious? Really? And then I had the experience many years ago as an adult. I went over here to this place at Venture Island, and they had churros over there at the the snack bar, and they didn't look like any churros I'd ever seen before in my life. But I bought it because I was feeling nostalgic, and I said, well, I'm gonna eat this churro. And it turned out to be the worst thing I'd ever eaten. It was disgusting. I couldn't finish it, and it made me pine for the old days, West Tampa carnivals and the churros. But I did find a guy, Case. You might have found him too when you were still, in your squad car going around town chasing bad guys. There was a guy in Town and Country. Okay, he had one of those vans that he was working out of the side of the gas station there where he plugged in, and he was making churros.
The Churro Man.
Was that who it was?
Marlene Ramos' father.
If it was him, I supported him for many years.
Yeah.
Now he's no longer there anymore. Other than Town and Country Boulevard off of beyond George Road there and Memorial. And I'm telling you, the churros were terrific. They were delicious.
I love those.
So anyway.
There was a guy that had a little, he had a van like that outside of his shop right across from Lato High School off of Manhattan and sold churros. And I used to, you say cops like donuts, we love churros.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, one is round and one is long and skinny, but they're about the same thing. Dough with a lot of sugar.
Right.
Oh, no, and setting up in front of Lato, come on now.
Oh.
He got the worst. Somebody told him, hey, set up over here, but you'll sell out. That's a great story. Well,
awesome.
Casey, we're glad you called, brother. And listen, the show's on every week. Every week we pick a new topic and we talk about different things. You recognize any of those people behind us? Should we get our director to get us out of here in this picture? And you want me to point some people out?
Well, the guy in the bottom row in the middle looks very, very familiar.
Yeah, that's your buddy right there. That's your little buddy right there.
Yeah.
And Monica Zimmer's next to me, to my right. Look in the top row in the back, Case, and I know you know these people because we went to elementary school, junior high with them. That's David Taylor next to Rose Stein. Rose is the real tall girl.
Okay.
Charlie Perez is next to her, and let's see, next to David Taylor on his right, looking away, looking down. That's Patty. That's Robin Whited. You see Robin right there?
Okay, yeah, I see Robin.
Okay, that's Robin. And let's see, over my right shoulder, the second row is Naida Perez. Over my left shoulder and one over is Lisa Rhodey, my cousin, and then next to her is Bruce Owen. Can you see Bruce there?
Yeah, I see Bruce Owens.
Bruce Owen's looking kind of, he has his mouth open, and Melissa Pye's the bottom row, the corner, all the way on the end. Now, I wish somebody who's watching and knows this picture intimately as I do would call and tell us, what are we doing with our hands? I don't think we're playing Itsy Bitsy Spider, but we're singing some kind of rhyme and we're doing some kind of Fonzie move with our fingers. I don't know.
Some kind of song.
But we're all doing different things, and some of us are looking away. And there's one of the two, Patty. I think it's Patty.
Patty, is that the shutter behind you?
Yeah, well, she's up in the top row, and she's second from the right. If you see, is that Patty Shetter? Or maybe Deborah Moore. Deborah Moore was in that picture too, and Susan Jones is somewhere in there as well. But anyway, Case, I got to tell you, I can tell by the sound there that I guess your time is up. Case. It's been great talking to you, but the lady over here ringing the bell off camera, you can't see her. She's running a tight show right now. Hey, Case, every week we're going to be on. Will you promise to call us back?
I'll do what I can.
Thanks, my brother.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Casey.
it. Great talking to you as always.
All right, guys.
Thanks for calling in.
Guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
Casey. Bye-bye.
Mario, we're going to have a whole separate show just on churros.
Oh, my gosh.
It'll spark a lot of memories, too.
We don't think about eating churros now because it's still the height of the summer. There's still humidity in the air. It's still hot outside. And, you don't want necessarily hot food when it's hot like this.
Mario, a lot of people may not know what churros are. You care to expand on that a little bit?
Well, I believe that if I have to describe to people out there what churros are, all right, I'll tell them real quick. Well, just take dough. Okay, think elephant ear. No, because elephant ear's got confection of sugar, and that's different. Okay, okay, here we go. Do you remember the Play-Doh machines we used to play with, Steve, when we were kids?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine dough inside of that Play-Doh machine, and then you press that Play-Doh machine down like this, and outside comes a string, Play-Doh. Think star shape, because remember, you can change the shape.
That's right.
Think star shape. Here comes a long string, and about 6 to 8 inches later, you cut that thing with that little nasty plastic knife that didn't ever cut anything.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That's your churro, dough. Now, drop that in some hot grease till it gets nice and brown. Take it out, put it on the counter, and dump as much sugar as you can possibly stand on top of it. Do that 10 times, because the churro man sold them in bags of 10.
Right, right.
And then what do?
You drink them, you eat them with coffee?
You eat them with coffee, you eat them with hot chocolate, you eat them with your fingers, you eat them immediately, because you can't not eat them.
They're phenomenal, phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't recommend them for anybody who has an issue with sugar, because you could get sick. You could get sick real easily. But the reality is they're amazing. And I don't know if that's indigenous to our area. I think churros came all the way from the mother country. I think churros came all the way from Spain. Because I've been over to Spain and I've eaten churros in Spain. So I think that our ancestors brought that over with them.
And you just don't see them that much anymore.
And our director's telling me in my ear that he's never heard of them.
Huh.
Well, I'm just going to have to throw him in a headlock and feed him a churro or two. So
we'll have to get a picture of a churro and put it on the green screen here next time.
yes.
Let's do that.
Yes, we will do that. And for our director, who's off camera right now, we're going to get a plate full of churros. We're going to take a picture of the churros and put them on the green screen behind us.
And callers, just a reminder, please call in 254-7820.
7820. Lines are open.
They sure
so
are.
if you're out there watching right now and you're thinking, I'm not going to get in anyway, now would be a good time, because we got about 20 minutes to go left, and we've got lines open. Let me see what else I've got in my notes here. Let me see what else.
It's endless, Mark. There's so many things to talk about as far as Tampa's history and our community and just preserving the memories. You know, it's an endless list.
Well, let's talk about the different games we could play with that Voight four-square ball. Does anybody remember that ball that you throw it, boing, boing, it made that boing sound? That Voight ball, do you remember that?
Oh, we got a call.
We got a call. Oh, man, I can't even tell you what I'm going to do with that Voight ball. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Let's hold that for a second.
Hold that thought. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Native Show. Turn down your TV. Talk to us. Who's on the air?
Yeah, this is Manny. I just wanted to make sure that you still had some guava turnovers.
All right.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Manny.
you got us. For everybody that doesn't know, this is Manny Mendoza, and he's calling from Texas. So this caller is calling from Texas. Hey, let me ask you a question.
This is not La Segunda Central, man.
No, this is not La Segunda Central Bakery. No. But they probably make churros there too. But let me ask you, on a serious note, brother, before we talk about the playground that we used to go to and have a great time at, talk to me a minute about the rain and the flooding over there, bro. I saw it on the news today, and I'm thinking, I lived there for a few years, and I remember it got rainy there pretty good a couple of times. But what's going on?
I stayed in my house for most of it. I really didn't see any reason to go out.
Bad flooding, huh?
The way Dallas just floods, man. And around me, there's a lot of greenery and stuff, but there's all the concrete, and the water just piles up right away.
Well, I'm wondering if, because I remember the flooding, man, and it was real bad. So much so that at one point, I think in Grand Prairie, the animals escaped from the zoo. Hey, what do we got coming in here?
What's this?
Wow.
Well, we can tell by the lady behind us with a clipboard that apparently we've got 15 minutes to go, Manny.
Oh, my God.
Let's keep talking. That was kind of creepy, wasn't it? She just kind of appeared in the background there.
Where'd she come from?
Wow.
Well, we're happy to have her on set with us. But listen, Manny, we call her the 15-minute girl. But anyway, she's just letting us know we got 15 minutes to go. Manny, tell me, what playground do you remember hanging out at the most? Because I remember you lived in different parts of Tampa, but give me your fondest memories.
Playground? I don't even know the name of it. That one over by where you went to junior high.
Where I went to junior high?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Now, junior high, for me, was Coleman Junior High School. Now, I don't remember a playground over there. We used to, the one that was by our house, by your grandmother's house, by my house, was North Hubert. And your sister mentioned to me in a conversation I had earlier that you guys used to hang out at the Temple Terrace playground.
Okay.
But do you remember, give me your fondest memory of
a playground?
Not just of a playground now, but let's be specific. Let's be specific of a certain playground equipment. Let's talk about something that you remember, whether it was the teeter-totter, whether it was the that wheel of death thing that you used to have to run around to spin.
The monkey bars?
The monkey bars.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Pull-ups?
The carousel. When you're like a 12-year-old boy, you you just want to spin on that thing as fast as you can, and occasionally that means you're going to bust your butt.
Occasionally? I think...
So do you remember falling off some carousels when they were going too fast?
I think that was the objective. I think if I remember correctly, the objective was to sit in it when you were 10, 11, and get the 14 or 15-year-old big brother of somebody who's at the park, and they would stand there. They wouldn't run. We would have to run and then jump on, remember?
Yeah.
But they would sit there and they just kind of whip it and whip it.
Fast
and they laughed like hell because it was going as fast as they could go. And then either one of two things happened, and neither one of these was good. Either you would go flying off and usually hurt yourself, end up with a face full of dirt, or you would get so dizzy that you'd get up and you would be spinning and throwing up and dizzy for 10 minutes afterwards.
That would have been me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly playground, but the state fair every year and the rides, oh my God, the Matterhorn and
the Tilt-A-Whirl. Well, as we get closer to the end of this season, it'll be closer to fair time. We may wait until then to talk about the fair, but that's going to be another explosive show because, most of us remember the fair when it was right over here off of North Boulevard and going there when you're 10, 11, 12, 15 years old. Ultimately it ended up out of 301, but the fair when it was here was pretty hot as well. Do you recall that?
The fair, yeah. I remember the fair before it moved way out. Yeah, in fact, once it moved out, I think I've only been a couple times.
Well, the truth of the matter is, Manny, we used to go to the fair all the time, and people don't know this is my cousin over here, Manny. We grew up, we've been knowing each other since we were knee-high to, I was about born. I was born, and then I knew Manny. He's been in my life the whole time. But anyway, I'll talk to you later. Look, I got another call. Let me get it before we get off the air.
All right, man.
Thanks, Manny.
Great show, and I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thank you, Manny. Are you watching us on your laptop or on your computer?
No, I'm just picking you up through the vibes in the air, man.
Hey, listen, and it's all good, baby. It's all good vibes. Thanks, Manny.
Thanks, Manny.
All right,
talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Caller, we're glad you waited as we get close to the end of the show. Who's on line 5 with us?
Hi, this is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia. Cynthia, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from right now. I'm in Wellswood.
Cynthia? Is this Cynthia Tamargo?
Yeah, we moved to the suburbs from West Tampa.
Hi, Cynthia. Good to talk to you. Thank you for calling.
Well, I wanted to share with you my memory of the playground.
Please.
My playground was West Tampa Heights.
Yes.
Now called Henry Capaz in memory of Henry, who died during a lightning storm when he was doing maneuvers out in, I think it was in Panama. He got struck with lightning.
I remember that. I do remember that.
One of those, yeah. So they named the playground after him. But my fondest memories were that we had Pop Cuesta as our park leader at the time.
Yeah, park director.
And we used to go down to the Little General on the corner. It was the Little General at the time, on the corner of Havana and Columbus Drive. That was when you could get in a car with somebody and nobody looked at you kind of funny. So he would take 4 or 5 of us down to the Little General to get an icy in the middle of the day. But my fondest was at the end of the summer, we would always have a watermelon party. Everybody would come in their bathing suits. They'd buy watermelon. We'd cut them all up, and then we'd have a slip and slide on the clay, the softball field, which is now Lupinella Field.
Hearing you tell the stories, and I can hear it in your voice. I mean, it was really great for us growing up here at that time.
It really was.
I mean, the parks were the place to be because that's where all your friends went to. Your parents knew it was safe. They could drop you off there, and you would be safe under the direction of the leadership there at the park. And, everybody knew everybody. Everybody was related anyway. So, you could stay there literally all day with about 50 cents, and you could get everything you needed. They usually had popsicles for us on the summer days. You had the slip and slide. We had the pool that we talked about earlier. I mean, you could literally stay there just about all day. Or maybe you'd ride your bike home to go home for lunch, and then you come back in the afternoon. It was an amazing time in Tampa, and there were, I don't know the official statistics, but I heard one time that there were over 150 parks in Tampa City proper, and I believe that because when our forefathers were platting out the subdivisions, whether it was West Tampa or Town and Country later, the area that was west of Dale Mabry, where I grew up, in the North Hubert playground I mentioned, or south, South Tampa, they always made sure that they had land, and that land had usually a playground on it. If it was big enough and they had the money, they put the pool. If not, it would certainly have a basketball court and then an open field where you could play kickball, hide and go seek. There were oak trees on the property. Wasn't that a great time?
It was a great time.
Yeah, you know, and the park hasn't changed much since we went there. I mean, they've got new fences and things, but the shelter is the same shelter. The playground is in the same spot. The swings are in the same spot. And my mother, we all grew up in that same area, and my mother remembers when that's called Los King, and it was donated. The property was owned by John H. Drew. The area is actually called John H. Drew Subdivision, and he put that entire block. That was always when they started building the houses. That was always designated as a playground. And my mom, who's 92, remembers the kids going around the neighborhood collecting, nickels from everybody, trying to raise the money to turn that into a playground. So John H. Drew donated the property, but the actual people in the neighborhood were the ones that turned it into a park.
That put the equipment on the playground equipment. And they all have the same playground equipment. They were all, fantastic in their own way, but they all have the same equipment. Yeah. So it was, the teeter-totter, the monkey bars, the tether bar. Some of them had a rope. You could climb up a rope. Things that today seem so
basic,
passe, and maybe basic. And we
spent the whole day outside, sweating like pigs.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, and nobody got sick, and nobody, every once in a while you have to come in because you get, as we used to say in West Tampa, sofocado, you know what I mean? Yeah. You have to come in and cool off for a little bit, but you go back out.
And you create your own games too if you didn't use their tools.
Oh yeah. I mean, we didn't talk about this with Casey. Casey was, on the phone just a few minutes ago. He was telling me he was a world-class box hockey player. I mean, did you have box hockey at that park?
Box hockey. We had box hockey. We always had remember when we'd go to the summer games?
Well, wait, and you know what? Oh, I didn't even mention this earlier. Oh, Cynthia, maybe you can tell me because we're almost running out of time. Well, I've got you here and there's nobody else waiting. There was an event that was called a May Day celebration, and it happened at Al Lopez Field, because I remember it distinctly because you had to, try out, and it was like the dance of the maypole.
Yeah, I remember
Do you remember that, Cynthia? Does that sound vaguely familiar to you at all?
I don't remember that.
Well, I remember it because it was a big thing to be selected from your park to represent your park at this May Day celebration. And it was the dance of the maypole. It was the rite of the spring, and it was all, we didn't understand what it was all about, but you danced around a pole with a streamer, and you went in and out, and it was like a little dancey-docy. Huh?
You weave it around the pole.
Yeah, you weave it around the pole, and then you play music, and then you unweave it, and then you weave it again. I don't know. Yeah. The things that we don't remember as we get older. But I was hoping that somebody would. I should have mentioned this earlier.
It was like the playoffs of.
I don't remember that, but I remember the summer games, and we would do the balance beam. And
the balance. That's right. That's right.
Against other parks.
You have competitions, right? You go play kickball against other parks, right? You get in the car, the park director's car, a couple of cars, and you go play basketball. I remember going to play at Ray Park, right there off of Howard in the heart of West Tampa, basketball against those guys, or going to play at Lincoln Gardens, football against that team. I mean, it was an amazing time, and
the storytelling contest.
The storytelling, the talent. There were talent shows too, weren't there? Talent shows?
I don't remember the talent shows, but there probably were. I do remember going to Hunt Playground in Drew Park.
Right. Hunt was in Drew Park.
They had that old gigantic building, remember? That was 2 stories.
I remember, of course.
Like behind Burden's Dairy back in there?
Seguro. I remember. I played softball there in the early 90s. It worked. We found that field, and it was never being used, so we kind of used it as a place to practice. You know what I mean? Because it was always available.
Well, we had the storytelling contest, and I remember, telling the Princess and the Pea or something. I don't remember, but
Easter egg hunts.
I mean, story.
Everything was coordinated, and everything was funded, and everything was simple, and it was wonderful, and it was safe.
Yep.
And my goodness.
I ran into at the grocery store not long ago a lady that she's like 90, and she's like Miss Tampa Recreation. I can't remember the woman's name, but I recognized her, and I had to stop and say something to her because after all these years, for me to still recognize her, and I thanked her for everything that she had done, and she had tears in her eyes. She was so impressed, and I felt like she was like our mentor, she was.
Of course. Well, these people were surrogate parents. In a lot of ways, they watched after us. They made sure we were safe. If we, fell down and got messed up, whatever, they were there to give us first aid and, wipe our tears if we got messed up a little bit or whatever. But I mean, they were our extended family while our parents were working. It was great. It was a great time.
Great time.
Mario, in closing, I wanted to say one more thing, and you can do this maybe for another show.
Sure.
Nicknames.
For people or for places?
for people.
Okay, all right.
That's what I remember from the playground. Everybody had a nickname.
Everybody had a nickname. I'm writing
Okay.
it down. I'm writing it down, Cynthia. Thank you so much. We're just about out of time, but Oye, thank you so much for your
Yes,
call.
Yes.
All right.
We'll talk again.
Thank you, Cynthia.
All righty. Jeff, how much time? Thank you, baby. How much time do we have, Jeff? 2 minutes until the rollout. I'm going to let this last caller end the day. Caller? Oh, my gosh. Caller, you there?
Yes, I am.
I got you on. Listen, we've got 2 minutes. Why did you wait so long to call me? For everybody out there, tell everybody who you are.
I am Patty.
Yeah, this is Patty Rio. This is Patty Rio, my cousin Patty Rio. Her mom is my dad's sister. Patty, why'd you wait so long to call? I only have but a minute to go.
No, but I just wanted to mention that the public housing also had their own playgrounds.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
That's right.
Leon, Robles Park, College Hill. So everybody would
Yes.
go to a park.
From the heart of Tampa. Patty, listen, we're just about out of time, but promise me you'll call back next week so we can talk a little bit longer.
I will.
Thank you for calling. How's Thea?
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
She's,
Patty.
she's good? Okay, thank you, Patty. Thank you. Bye-bye. That was my cousin.
That's
Why did she
phenomenal.
wait so
That's
long to
phenomenal.
call? I was waiting to hear from her all day today. Wow, partner.
Man, it's so exciting
It's
to hear
flown
from
by.
these people.
It's
isn't
another
it?
week. Another week has flown by.
Wow.
And I want to thank everybody out there for participating. If you couldn't get in this week, please be sure to call next week. We're not sure what topic we're going to have next week, but tell them the email again, Stevie, because we like to make sure that if they have a topic suggestion, they can send that to us where?
Right. Show at Tampanatives, that's natives with an S.com. So show at Tampanatives.com.
Just about out 30 seconds to go.
We're almost there.
Just about. Tell anything you want to.
Mar, is this exciting or what? I mean,
Yeah, I want to do another hour.
I know,
We
I
have to
know.
go now, but I want to do another hour because we have so much more to talk about.
You mentioned earlier you can hear it in the voices of people calling in. You can hear the actual feeling. You can feel it.
Of course.
You not only hear it, but you feel it, and it's just phenomenal. But different world.
That's part of what drives Steve and I to put the show on, and we hope we're doing a good job. We think it feels pretty good. From where we're sitting, it feels pretty good. We got a lot of people to thank for helping us with the production. Our producer Jeff
Right.
Haynes for being there for us each and every week, and I don't know what they're paying him, but it's certainly not enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's really nothing, to be sure. And of course, our set director, our set designer. We have a new set this week. We feel good about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The graphics will be improved. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, come back and see us.
Salute.